Hello, it's Megan from Manifesting Me. Thank you so much for joining me. I write, talk about, and teach manifesting. I also have a book available for sale on Amazon.com called The Pocket Guide to Manifesting. I do customized one-on-one sessions, which I've linked to in the description box of this video if you're interested. And please, if you like the video, give it the thumbs up. It helps other people find it. So today I'm going to talk about relationships and specifically manifesting the one. And I'm going to do so from the perspective of my experience meeting my husband, Jim. And that was after, many years of kind of being in and out of relationships and, getting the contrast, as they say, with manifesting, figuring out what I didn't want so that I could better figure out what I did want and what would fit me for forever. So I'm sharing this because I'm coming off of a wonderful wedding anniversary weekend that Jim and I celebrated. And also, I had a couple people within like a week before that ask specifically about romantic partnerships, and they, wanted my opinion. And so I thought, oh, I'll put all those things together and just share what my experience in manifesting the one was like. So I'll start by saying that, we can have it all. We can absolutely 100% have it all. I had gone many years just dating and not quite finding the right person. They were the right people at that time to kind of help me along my path, but they weren't people that I was meant to be with long term. And I remember a friend of mine saying, maybe you just need to lower your standards. And I'll tell you this, I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I didn't listen to the well-meaning advice coming from that person, because if I had lowered my standards, I wouldn't have been able to meet Jim. I would have settled for somebody who wasn't quite the right fit, because it kind of would have been that mindset of, well, it's better to be with the wrong one than it is to be alone. And what I learned was actually the opposite of that. So I'll share that I met Jim shortly after coming out of a tumultuous relationship. And that relationship actually, when it ended and when I managed to get all of my energy cleaned up from it, I remember thinking, and I actually told a close friend, I said, that's it, no more dating for me. Like, I'm done. And she said something really wonderful and moving to me that I took to heart. And she said, no, she said, you can't do that. Don't give that person that you were just with who wasn't the right one and who you had a really bad experience with, don't give them that power over you. Because the second that we allow anybody to take away our ability to live a happy life and to have what we know we're entitled to have and the beauty that exists for us, then they win. And they is anyone. They is like the shadow side of ourselves, right? So she said, you get right back up there on that horse and it's going to be fine. And something else happened in conjunction with that. I also had a thought that, after coming out of that relationship and just looking around at my life, I thought, you know what? I think I'm good. Like if I never meet the right one, I'm happy with myself and I'm really happy with my life and I'm good. If this is the way that the rest of my life looks, me being single, I'm okay with that because I reached a point where I liked my own company. I liked my friend group and what I was doing. And my happiness was really being generated from within as opposed to me looking outside of myself for it. The second I said that, the second that I really felt that, Jim popped on the scene. I mean, it was within 36 hours, and he just came barreling out of the scene out of nowhere. And so I love sharing that story, that it really was that point of coming to peace with myself and my situation as opposed to resisting it, right? Because what do we often do when we want something and we don't have it? We are resisting where we are. We're in a state of not having it. So we resist. And the more we resist, the more we create a stuck point for ourselves that keeps us in what we don't want. But as soon as we say, you know what, I think I want something more. I think I'm entitled to something more. I think that, in my energetic vibration and in my dream world, there is this beautiful, beautiful thing for me, waiting for me. But where I am right now, I can make peace with it. And I'm good where I am because I'm with me and I like me. And that just kind of, all of the shackles fall off of us at that point. And I think we just kind of get springboarded forward into that life that we had been wanting to manifest all along. So that was my one experience. And when Jim and I finally came together, and we talked a lot at first. We met online, and it was a funny story because I actually had narrowed my search filters to I wasn't willing to. I used to drive, all over the place. I drive like up to 6 hours to meet somebody. So I narrowed my filters down. And I said, no, 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 I'm going to find somebody within like an hour of where I live. Jim, on the other hand, had just done the opposite, and he had expanded his search and had included other states. He had just been looking in his own state that he lived in, and he, at that same time, expanded his. So I came onto his radar screen, but he was not on mine. But the first message he sent me, something dinged in me, and I was like, oh, well, this is interesting. He looks interesting. And when we came together and we were talking and all of our interactions, neither of us, this was an unspoken thing that happened. We didn't talk about our past. We didn't, bring forward everything that we had been through to that point in terms of dating other people and all the disappointments and, any of our experiences and stories. We just left it back there. We left it in the past, didn't talk about it. And it wasn't like we had an agreement. It's not like we came together and we said, listen, I'm not going to talk about my past. We just didn't. So that was a real telling thing for me. We also didn't talk about the future. So we were truly in the moment and we were present with each other. And I think another unspoken thing between us was that we would just keep doing it as long as it felt good. As long as this moment keeps feeling good between us, let's keep doing it. And guess what? We are 8+ years past when we first met, and the moments keep feeling good. So that was another thing. So I recommend that. And I have other videos where I've talked about just, leave the past in the past. Because the second that we're talking about the past, we're really reactivating that energy and we're putting ourselves back in that vibration. So if you loved your past, if you had all good experiences and you want more of it, definitely talk about your past. But if you've got stuff from your past that you just, was lower vibration, you weren't happy, it was, challenging, whatever the case was, just leave it. Leave it, leave it, leave it. And just be in the moment with someone. So I had, when I met Jim, I was wowed by the fact that I'd had this dream partner list that I put together, and it had on it how I wanted to feel when I was in a relationship with the right person. And, that's really important when we're manifesting feeling. If we can feel what it's like to have the thing, the person, the experience that we're trying to manifest, we erase the time-space continuum and we very quickly come together with that which we are seeking. And so I had my dream partner list, with some attributes, but it was very much around how I wanted to feel when I was with Jim. And let me tell you, he answered everything on that list and then some. It's like the universe served up something that was beyond my fondest dreams. And I'm so grateful for that because we don't always know what we don't know. So we think like, oh, I want this, 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 and this. And the universe is going, I'm going to surprise you. There's a bunch of other stuff you didn't know to ask for. And I was very trusting of that. And I hit the jackpot and I'm thrilled. I'm so, so, so thrilled. Here's another thing that I've learned. When I was with Jim, I wasn't asking myself or my friends or anybody else. I wasn't the question of, is he the one? Is this right? Oh my gosh. Never came up. It just, again, it felt good moment to moment to moment. And it has continued to. And I think that's something, because I was in relationships prior where I had a lot of questions and I kept kind of second guessing myself, like, oh, should I be trying harder? Did I not put enough effort into that particular relationship? Should I be lowering my standards? Like, what's not right with me that makes this relationship feel off? Let that be a flag. If you're experiencing any of that, let that be a flag that potentially, the person that you're with just isn't the right fit. And that's okay, because it doesn't mean that, people are bad or whatever. If we don't end up with people, it's not like they were bad for us or, wrong for us. They were the right people at the right time to help us along our path. They just weren't necessarily, the one, like the one that we were meant to go long term with, to go the distance, whatever distance that may be. And good feels good, bad feels bad. That's the simplest gauge that I've used. And, if it's good for us in life, it's going to feel good. If it's wrong for us, it's going to feel bad. And that's going to include us questioning, is this right? Is this the right person? So, maybe allow that to kind of guide you if you have any questions or, you're kind of, you're thinking and you're doing that second guessing, which we all do from time to time, right? But that's what I've learned. What I've also learned is that in right relationships, we really come into our own. I spent so much of my life feeling like I was less than and not good enough. And so I created this facade of what I thought the perfect person was. And that facade is where my vibration was. And I would attract people who fit the facade. And they didn't necessarily fit who I authentically was at my core. And part of that was I wasn't in touch with who I was at my core. I was not being honest with myself about what I really liked, who I really was, what my hopes and dreams and aspirations were. I kind of had hopes, dreams, and aspirations that I had maybe adopted from society or from other people around me, or trying to prove myself again because it was coming from a place of unworthiness. Once I really settled into, what, this is who I am. This is at my core, I am this person. I have these misgivings, these shortcomings, and these strengths. And once I made peace with that, then suddenly it's like this whole new playing field opened up where I met somebody who was also good with himself, who had gone through the trials and tribulations to get himself to a point where he was authentic and honest. He is honest as the day is long. And that is so important to me, and something that now that I also have that honesty within myself and I'm willing to look at myself and really see who I am, good, bad, and otherwise, I'm able to attract honesty back into my life. So that was huge. Um, so again, when we're in right relationship, my experience has been that we can just breathe out and feel like we're enough exactly as we are. We don't feel like we have to be constantly doing, giving, to prove that we're lovable. We can just show up. We can show up with our hair all messed up and with eye boogers crusted on our faces. And our perfect partner looks at us and just sees through loving eyes, all of it. And that helps us. That helps to expand us. So by being with Jim, I've actually learned to love myself even more. And I keep expanding. And it's such a wonderful feeling. In right relationship, our partners and our partnership helps to expand us. It encourages us. Our partner encourages us. Jim and I are huge supporters of one another, hugely respectful of one another. We want the other to succeed. And, so as opposed to, have you ever been around the couple that's, sometimes they've been together for a long time. Sometimes it's, just maybe a couple of years, a few years, but they put each other down. It doesn't feel right to me. There's something off there. And, so that's another one of my metrics is if I ever were to catch myself, in that, like wanting to put somebody else down, it's never about them. It's about me. There's something I have to fix in me, something I have to heal in me. The nice thing about Jim and I, and this was one of the things on my dream partner list, was I wanted us to come together as whole heart-led people. And we did. So we had done the work prior, didn't have to talk about it with one another, right? We all have a past. And when we found each other, that work was very evident in the fact that we were, leading with our hearts and we were authentically ourselves. And it felt like a match. It felt like two puzzle pieces that fit together perfectly. Here's the big caveat. All relationships take work. So Jim is my perfect love in every respect, including in those moments of tension where we help each other grow. So we certainly have times when we are, rubbing each other the wrong way. I'm having an off day and something he does or says triggers me or vice versa. And it's work. Jim and I are constantly renegotiating the terms of our happiness with one another, but it takes really open communication. It takes letting each other know what we're really thinking and feeling. So there's no game playing, there's no drama, right? Something happens, we address it in the moment. And, sometimes you can kind of feel that tension in the chest. There's that, I can feel like my old ego patterns wanting to defend myself or wanting to, jump in. And if we can just ground ourselves and recognize that we love each other and that we want each other to be happy, real growth and magic happens. And so we've reached a point where we can share with each other openly, like, that thing you said hurt my feelings. I don't think you intended it to hurt my feelings, but somehow it struck my ears in just, the wrong way. And I just want to share that with you. There's something really wonderfully mature about that. And again, coming off of however many decades of being in relationships with others where it was drama and it was, I'm going to act like it doesn't bother me and I'm going to resent that person because they should have known it bothered me. Nobody's a mind reader. I mean, even psychics, like we have our blocks, right? And I laugh about that. I can be hugely intuitive about a lot of things. And there are times when Jim and I are in each other's heads and we know what the other person is thinking. One of us will speak what the other person's thinking. But, I'm also like, I can get caught up in the doing of the world. And so there are times when I say, listen, if you need something and I've missed it, if I've missed the cue, just please be real explicit with me and say, hey, I need you to pay attention to this. This is important to me. Oh, okay, thank you. Like that's, so it's another way that we respect and support each other is through that whole relating to one another and staying in a healthy relationship with each other. I'm sure there's some other things, but that's what's coming to mind right now of what I've picked up. And just to touch on, so what about the other people that we were with? Not to discount, I used this analogy with somebody and they thought it was pretty good. It's like appetizers before the feast. So the other people that we have been in relationship with that, they got us to where we needed to be. They helped to tide us over. They helped to grow us in the ways that we needed to grow so that we could finally be a vibrational match for, our love feast, if you will. I don't know if I'm married to that term, but anyway, so that's what I have there. And I hope that, something here has resonated with you and might help to just inspire you if you're looking for a partnership, if you're looking for the one, if you are in the midst of manifesting, or if you're, again, coming off of a relationship that was challenging. I also wrote a blog article about this on my website, which I've linked to in the description box. It talks about, those hard breakups and, just kind of gives, helps to shift the perspective. So thank you so much for being here. I wish you all, as always, happy manifesting, and until next time.